My intention to commemorate my dear father's first yahrzeit is to perform as many mitzvot as I can think of, publicly shine a light on some of his character traits we can learn from, privately be mindful of my own growth during this past year, and attempt to elucidate my gratitude in the merit of a lofty aliyah for my dad's neshama, as well as a complete refuah for my mom, Aviva Bat Yona. Master of the universe, may it be your will that the right words and thoughts present themselves to me, now and always, as I attempt to accomplish the above-mentioned intentions. Even though I am small, lowly, and full of mistakes, I request that I may be an ambassador for your honor, as well as both of my parents. Speaking about my dad's character traits, some funny, some impressive, my mom, Michelle, Neen, and I inscribed these on his mitzvah for posterity, as well as to illustrate that these traits passed to us and we are an extension of his roots. It also doesn't hurt that subjectively he is adorned with the most impressive stone in the entire cemetery. My dad was born on the 10th of October in Cape Town, South Africa, 1942, to Robert and Etty Rappaport, brother to older sister Myra and younger brother Michael. Some anecdotal stories that clarify how he role modeled these traits are when the Queen visited South Africa and his class was lined up on the street to watch the motorcade, and legend has it he was positive the Queen waved to him and he shouted, "Hiya, city." There was also a time when Opa Bobby threatened to cut the dog in half if Michael and he didn't stop fighting over it, and Dad creatively and passionately requested, "May I have the top half?" Dad grew up as one of a few families that belonged to the Reform movement. This is significant to me because he role modeled tenacious persistence in my lifetime, learning the Hebrew language so that he could pray in an all-Hebrew minyan, and then adding tefillin, shachrit, mincha, maariv, and Shabbat shul attendance. He moved forward. He didn't stay in the same rung for long, committing to more and more mitzvot and honing his relationship with Hashem. I've said before that his relationship with Hashem made me very proud, and it continues to do so. Our family all witnessed him bounce back from one business misfortune to another. In fact, it was a debate whether to inscribe on the mitzvah the pasuk Sheva Pamim Nofel Tzadik V'Kam instead of the one that we have on there already, which is Eitz Chaim Hi Lamachazikim Ba V'Tomchei Hu Meoshar. The first one is translated to 7 times a righteous person falls and gets up. And even though we agreed on the Eitz Chaim pasuk, which I will talk about much later, the former seemed perfect too, because each time he reinvented himself. And it started with shachrit. Even as I write, I am struck by the profound nature of how he used to get out of bed early, acknowledging who really runs the world. I personally struggle in this area and recall my father's behavior to get me going and getting out of bed. Thanks, Dad. As my dad reinvented himself, he conceived and developed early childhood learning curriculums and physiotherapy equipment that will, God willing, continue to give benefit long into the future. And certainly the residual spiritual reward for his creativity in this world must be exponential. A year ago, the Parsha was Emor, and as some might recall, it was challenging for me to find content to relay that directly and personally related to my dad. This year, we get Bahar, and it's so juicy. I hope I managed to discipline myself to a shortage message. So right now we are in chapter 25 of Leviticus, where it says in verse number 1, Hashem spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you come to the land that I give you, the land shall observe the Sabbath rest for Hashem. For 6 years you may sow your field, and for 6 years you may prune your vineyard, and you may gather in its crop. But the 7th year shall be a complete rest for the land, a Shabbat for Hashem. Your field you shall not sow, and your vineyard you shall not prune. The aftergrowth of your harvest you shall not reap, and the grapes you had set aside for yourself you shall not pick. It shall be a year of rest for the land." So this concept is very clear. For 6 years it's permissible to sow your seeds, treat the land, control the weeds, wildlife, look after your crop according to the way you see fit. And then you're entitled to reap what you created and use your crop to feed your family. However, on the 7th year, referred to as Shemitah, you may not sow any seeds, treat your land in any way, and anyone from anywhere may come and eat from the natural growth of your field. Yikes! Not only does this mitzvah to our 21st century sensitivities seem beyond unreasonable, but we are in the year of Shemitah right now. In Israel now, there are farmers from north to south, east to west, who just let go of their land. Read livelihood, read control, just to focus on who really owns the land. When you think about it, we actually own nothing. Michelle's major takeaway from our father's funeral was exactly that. We own zilch, not even our own bodies. That's profound, and we would do ourselves a favor to reflect on that often. The concept may be clear, but it's definitely not simple. We all know how tough it is to make a living just to pay our bills. Now imagine every 7th day, the Shabbat, you have to close down your business, not take any calls, no matter how important they are. That could be very stressful. And then to add insult to injury, every 7th year, you cannot do anything to your own land for a whole year. But wait, there's even more extremity. Verse 8 then says, "You shall count for yourself 7 cycles of sabbatical years, 7 years, 7 times. And for those who are proficient in math, that's 49 years. Then on the 50th year, it should be a jubilee for you. In Hebrew, Yovel, where all your land reverts back to its original owners. You don't even own your own land." talk about a leap of faith. So here is how I'm going to attempt to connect the call to action from this week's Parsha to observe Shemitah every 7th year, and then after 7 cycles of 7 to observe Yovel, and the non-coincidence that we are counting 49 days of the Omer now, with the reality that when you leave this world, you don't take a penny with you. Yet, counterintuitively, in all 3 of these cases, we land up in the same place, an exalted and glorious freedom, ultimate liberty. Who knew? So here's the logic. After the Exodus from Egypt, we count 49 days. Yesterday we counted 31. And on the 50th day, we have an opportunity to connect to the Creator of the universe on Mount Sinai and receive the Torah. Each and every Omer, there is a new perspective that I become conscious of. When I commit and do the mental work, the expanded consciousness is the consequence. Very simple. I have never had the merit to do the mitzvah of Shemitah, however, appreciate the immense difficulty, both logically, practically, and even psychologically. Here's another leap of faith. It's more like a jettison out of orbit. I can, however, chime in about my own experience starting to observe Shabbat once a week. Logistically, practically, and psychologically, the effort was huge, and I'll complain about that struggle very soon. 24 years later, though, the consequence of this is a felt experience of exalted and glorious freedom. So much so that I actually get a little down when Shabbat leaves. Counterintuitive, yes, but it is reality. Therefore, the connection between these 2 cycles of 49 culminating on the 50th day or year suggests that we can inculcate a sublime freedom. But what's that got to do with leaving this world without a thing, not even our own body? A valid reason to expect that my dad right now is in heaven without a worry or care in this world. Ultimate freedom. Can you imagine? No worries, no jealousy, no anger, no desires that control you, no sadness, no despair, 0 money issues, no bills, just heaven. And this is where I'm going to start complaining about that struggle to commit to observing the 7th day, the Sabbath, Shabbat. How on earth can I get away with closing up shop on the busiest day of the week while still competing in the marketplace and still paying the bills and forget about business for a whole day? The temptation to give up popped up to divert me like a bag of salt and vinegar chips diverts me when I'm on a diet. Somehow, though, I prevailed and I survived. Actually, I more than survived. So how so? The word Shemitah, the other Sabbath that we're talking about in this parsha, suggests Why? It is derived from the Hebrew root shemot, shin, mem, tet, which means let go. Shemitah is also known as the year of letting go. Letting go of what? The race of getting more and more, improving and improving, developing and competing. Not only for the humans, but for the land too. Just let go. The Zohar says that inside Shabbat there is a real liberty from our personal judgments. Each day we go out and do what we have to do to earn a living and survive. But that's just in the physical world. In the spiritual dimension, we are living with and fighting our own personal judgments that we earned. And they manifest themselves as ego, desire, fear, anger, jealousy, anxieties. You might have an inkling of what I'm talking about. These are judgments, and aside from their discomfort, they distort our reality. He did this to me, that one did that one for me, he hurt my feelings, I have a foreboding, this one has more than me, I'm not good enough, nobody likes me. The list is endless. And when you're focusing on those, all you'll see is oy vey, Soros. Shimon Bar Yochai, who we celebrate with Lag BaOmer in 2 days, wrote in the Zohar, when we are connected to the spiritual level called Shabbat, sabbatical, Yovel, it refers to the state of mind that you reach when you have true rest, true freedom, heaven. But what is true rest? Says Shimon Bar Yochai, ultimate freedom and liberty from our judgments. To be clear, he isn't referring to the liberties that we enjoy in the United States of America. Nope. He's referring to liberty from those judgments controlling us instead of us controlling and successfully ignoring them. When a person falls into the motions of all the what ifs and anger and worries and fears and desires, he's not liberated, even if he lives in the United States of America. His positive psychological capital is low. What Parshat Bahar is teaching us is that it doesn't matter what your reality is. It matters where your focus is. And as Dad often said, it's very simple. It's all in the mind. I have a visual of my mom and sisters mouthing those words as they hear it. And you can't just have it. You have to go through the steps to earn it because of yourself and not in spite of yourself. Either 7 steps till you reach Shabbat or 49 days till you reach the 50th of Torah or Yovel. These aren't just dates in a calendar. These are states of mind, which brings me to the pasuk Eitz Chaim, and why it ties in perfectly to positive psychological capital and ultimate freedom and liberty. So back in the first parsha of the Torah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm totally going to leave this for another time because I do not want to keep you, and bli neder, we'll speak about it next year. Please know that I did not tie these ideas together myself. One of my weekly rabbi teachers, Rabbi Shawel gets most of the credit. And speaking about credit, there isn't enough of it in this world for Rabbis Kaufman and Shawel, who undertook the responsibility to recite Kaddish at 3 prayer services daily for 11 months. I tried. I really did. I tried to go to Mincha and Mariv just 1 time a day, but only lasted 8 months. And the obvious silver lining is the fact that the caliber of prayer that escorted you, Dad, not only was a source of comfort for me, but I knew that you were enjoying the gold standard of comfort. Were I tasked with this job, not only would my level of prayer be lower, but I wouldn't have made it all the way through. I would have succumbed to my anxieties and dropped the ball. So Rabbis Kaufman and Shawel, on behalf of my mom, Michelle and Nina, not from the bottom of my heart, but from my whole entire being, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, Dad, you worked so hard your whole life. You role modeled tremendous strength of character to provide, love, and guide your family. Last year, I promised on Michelle and Nina's behalf that we would be there for Ma. It's kind of rich of me because I'm so far away. But you should know Shell and Neen have been there every single step of the way. I wish I could pick up the phone and find out how you are. Do you get the gifts of love I send every day with my steps and intentions that I take in this world? Maybe you'll be a Meilitz Yosher for all of us, and especially for Ariella Rachel, if it's Hashem's will. And to all of you here today, I hope that there is something that you could take from this, that you would inculcate into your own life, not only for your own experience of ultimate freedom, but also in the merit of more gold standard comfort for Shlomo ben Esther Reuven HaLevi.